welcome back to another video. Today I'm be showing you how I made GMK Godzilla, aka Godzilla from the 2001 film Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah, giant monsters all out attack. A mouthful, I know. But one thing I want to bring up that I forgot to bring up the past few Godzilla videos is the height. 2000 was about 6 inches tall. The 98 ones were about 7 inches standing, hunched forward, but 10 to 11 inches standing up, so almost a foot tall. GMK right here is 6.5, and that's because in real life the actual suit was really big. Because this Godzilla design is so big and bulky, I wanted to sort of interpret that in this figure by making him just slightly bigger than 2000. But what I'm doing is I'm loosely following, and I emphasize loosely because I'm kind of doing a little bit my own thing here, but I really wanted to follow the scaling of the Godzilla design. So the Showa Godzillas, which were like this 50, 60, 70 era Godzilla, are about 100 feet tall, or I believe like 60 meters if I'm correct. Heisei, which was 80s and 90s, he was about 200 feet tall, maybe a little over that, and 98 was pretty big as well, which is why, they're pretty big figures. And Millennium went back to the Showa era height where they were, closer to 100 feet tall. But yeah, I just want to go over that real quickly. As for the film itself, it's a really cool film, a really cool interpretation of Godzilla, still making him menacing and scary at times, especially with his whited out eyes, and also really weird by having him be the amalgamation of the Japanese spirits, these angry Japanese spirits from World War II that brought Godzilla back to life to instill fear back into Japan or something like that. It's pretty insane lore, but anyways, I'm rambling on too much. Let's go ahead and get right to the video. As always, I start off with an armature, and then I block that armature with as much clay as necessary, then leading into the sculpting process, which then leads into the detailing process. Now, I do want to say that just like 2000, I actually went ahead and made a second figure of this, because the first one, I went all the way to the casting process, pulled out the casting. There was a lot of issues, and there was just some things about the actual sculpture itself that I wasn't a big fan of. So I then went back and remade the entire thing, and I didn't wait a whole year like 2000, but I wanted to do it immediately so that I didn't have to wait so long and I could just move on to the next project. But yeah, what you see right here in this portion of the video is the original, and what you see in the photos and basically after the casting process is the second and basically the official figure that I went with. Not a lot to say about the detailing process. Essentially, this is much more simplistic Godzilla, is more back to basics. And once I finish sculpting it, I basically move on to the mold making process where I use the hardware store silicone to make a pretty decent mold. And then I use plaster to make the mother mold, and I use burlap to strengthen that mother mold. And once the mold is open, I then get it ready for casting, and I put foam padding on the wire armature, which is a process I always forget to document. But essentially, this is to imitate the process that was used to make the original suits, where they used upholstery foam and then put a layer of liquid latex. Though in this case, instead of liquid latex, I used polyurethane rubber, and I used the Polytech polyurethane rubber that's been dyed black. I first do a brush on cast so that I could get into some of the smaller cracks and crevices, as well as the dorsal plate, so there's no major bubbles. And then I put the armature in there, I seal the mold up, and I basically pour in another cast of rubber so that I can then throw it around as a slush mold so that I create an equal layer of rubber. I mix some whites and grays together to give a light grayish coloration, as that's how the suit looks to me at least. And then I just dry brush it on, and then I seal the paint so that I can then move on to the next step. After I seal the paint with some flex paint, I then move on to making his dorsal plates. And originally I made them and they turned out to be a little too small, as you'll see in a little bit. And so because of that, I decided to then remake them. But these Godzilla dorsal plates are a lot more curved. And so I tried to replicate that by putting some clay on certain dorsal plates so that I could kind of create that sort of curvature. But as you can see right here, here's the second ones that I made. And you can see these are the originals and these are the new ones. And they came out a little bit bigger. When it came to painting the claws, teeth, and dorsal plates, even the eyes, what I did is I painted black on top of it, and then I lightly dry brushed some whites and just kept lightly dry brushing it until it created this sort of misty look, which I think looked pretty realistic and pretty cool. After I finished painting the eyes, I gave them a layer of resin to kind of give them a sort of eye look. And then I sealed the entire thing with a matte finish, and that's basically it. And that about ends the video. Overall, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. There are some little issues here and there, such as the casting wasn't really evenly coated. So there are some parts that are a little lumpy that I had to sort of restuff, and it makes it look a little misshapen, especially in the head. It's a little bothersome, but I mean, you could look at it as just, you know, it's what makes it look handcrafted and therefore more special. But either way, I'm still pretty happy with how it turned out. I think it looks really cool, and it's a really cool design for Godzilla. One that I just had to recreate, and I'm glad that I did. I hope y'all enjoy it, and I hope y'all enjoyed this video. If you want to check out photos of this guy, you can check out my Instagram page, geo_sculpts. That's where I post pictures of all my sculptures that I've created. As for the videos, I believe I should have one more video for the end of this year. If not, it'll be the very first video of next year. Anyway, but either way, keep an eye out for that. Anyways, thank y'all for watching the video. I hope y'all have a great day. Bye.